And we should be live and hopefully audible.
Okay. I will just trust. Okay, so I'll do a quick overview. All right, so we're playing a second scenario using the Harlem Unbound book, written by Chris Spivey. This one focuses around the 369th Regiment, the African-American regiment that fought in World War One, originally formed by the United States, but due to segregation and racism, actually ended up under French command for the duration of their conflict. Because the French were an all-opportunity employer and were very happy to take on an entire regiment of African-Americans. The African-Americans went on to win the Legion of Honor due to their bravery in conflict. When they returned to the United States, it probably goes without saying that in a Woodrow Wilson-led government, man, probably most famous, fairly or unfairly, for being both the architect of the League of Nations peace movement, but also an avid racist and nativist who famously screened Birth of a Nation in the White House as one of the first screenings of the movie. It's always good to read into a little bit of American history because you'll find some fascinating stuff. Woodrow Wilson, architect of international peace and supporter of the Ku Klux Klan. So as a result, the 369th were not given a formal parade and actually suffered significant, sort of denigration and racism all through the 1920s. They did march in Harlem to the great regard of the African-American and indeed, to be fair, other, sort of groups within Harlem. And many of the men who fought in the war, and a pattern which certainly we've also seen in Australia, they fought in it in the hope and the belief that it would change the perception of African Americans in the eyes of white America. And of course, it failed to do so. In much the same argument that many Aboriginals in Australia fought in World War One and World War Two in the hope of changing Australian perceptions of Aboriginals, with a similar outcome. Okay, so that's the sort of background of the 369th, which will be relevant to the module. The module, of course, is a Call of Cthulhu module. We're adapting it using the Vaesen rules, which is pretty much fly by the seat of our pants kind of adaptation, because that's how I like to roll with it. But it's fantastic, as always. Chris's stuff, particularly in regards to this, is next level good. All right.
It works.
Yeah.
It worked last
Just
time.
next level good. So on that note, and with no further regard, if I could just quickly fly around the group, and starting with you, Frank, or Amadeus Winthrop,
Sure.
a
So
quick
today
overview.
I'll be retaking the role of Dr. Amadeus Winthrop. He is 60. He is a community, a pillar of the community in Harlem. He just about survived the last scenario we had. Was a bit shocked by all the violence that went on, all the burning down of places. But yeah, he's come through it, and hopefully he's looking forward to a very relaxed time with his friends and working on some music and so on. So I'm sure there will be nothing that will frighten him this time. Right?
Correct.
Yeah, and he's a doctor, if I haven't said that yet. Medical doctor.
That's right. And pillar of the community.
I did say that.
Right. That's right. Anston, also known as Matt.
Also known as Atlanta. Atlanta Hughes is a musician. He plays the horn. I have to say, given your introduction to the scenario, he did not fight in the First World War, but he did have a friend who fought in that war and who died in the last episode. Died, if I recall, a horrible death, which I'm going to hand over to Mohammed, who is an expert in horrible deaths.
Developing a real talent.
You're muted.
You're mute. You're mute.
As usual. Okay, I'm playing a new character because my last character unfortunately died a horrible death. But he at least took down a couple of cultists with him. Burned down their theater completely, but unfortunately being killed also. We're playing John Unsworth. He's in his early 20s. He's average height, a bit skinny, but he's getting a mean hook. He likes to box because he's been jumping from orphanage to orphanage all his life. Never had a proper home until he met his new friends. He was trying to call them his new family, but he's still in doubt because he never had a very stable family that he can trust. But he's feeling a bit optimistic about this new friendship that he's getting. That's John for you for now.
And finally, but certainly not last, Paul or Father Daniel.
Hi, I'm playing a new character as well, because unfortunately my last character got hung for doing some naughtiness in the last scenario, burning things down. So I'm playing, this time I am playing Father Daniel Lagba, who is a Catholic priest, honest governor.
Anyway. Okay, so you all are at least vaguely familiar with each other, and indeed, John is trying to sort of develop what will eventually turn into something like the Green Book that appears in what's the name of the thing?
Green Book.
It does appear in the Green Book, actually.
It appears in Lovecraft Country, but a similar one.
A similar one, that's right. But actually also in the Green Book, very well pointed out, Muhammad. I'd forgotten about the movie, The Green Book, named after the book. John is developing a network of people who've travelled around the United States, starting to understand that as road transport becomes a thing, and in particular as it becomes available to lower middle class people, of which certainly African Americans are a significant portion, the desire for safe travel, not a given, grows. At the same time, Father Daniel recently brought in parish priest for one of the local Catholic parishes. Seems to have developed a little bit of the community has noted that Father Daniel has a reasonably broad interpretation of theology.
of Catholic
theology.
A lot of saints.
A lot of saints. There's a lot of saints in Father Daniel's practice. Matter of fact, saints feature very prominently all the time. Frequently mentioned, more frequently than God.
And Jesus. So,
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've all been invited for various reasons, of which I will allow you to establish in your own right why, to a rent party. Okay, so let me see if I can just show party. Should be able to flip this up.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a party.
Okay, so rent parties are cool as hell, right? So African Americans aren't allowed in most cases to go and just go to the bank and get money and buy properties and rent properties for entertainment. So if you want to start a business, you have to kind of work out interesting and new ways to do it. So one of the ways they did it was they would rent apartments and convert them into little mini nightclubs. And so these are called rent parties. And so the people would rent a house, like an apartment, and then they'd rent the apartment next to it, and they'd remodel the two apartments to make them sort of work as like little joints. I was just reading, actually, the Lindy Hop actually comes out of rent parties. So if you know what the Lindy Hop is, it's a dance that comes out of, it wasn't called the Lindy Hop at the time, but it comes out of there. So this is an image from a rent party being held in the probably 1930s, not the 1920s. So you guys come along. So the joint is packed, right? Now, this is Prohibition era United States. So there's alcohol, needless to say, in vast amounts. And you've some of you have turned up to play. So live music only. So Anston and Amadeus certainly have come along to play. Others have just been invited. It's one of those sorts of events, right? So the party's being held in a pair of apartments, a couple of flights up a set of stairs in a sort of 3-story apartment block. The owners or the hosts, I'll just get their names so I don't forget them. Celestia and Ralph Beecher. Celestia Jordan and Ralph Beecher. Ralph Bleacher. I should probably. I'll tell you what, why don't I make that slightly bigger from a text perspective? Just talking to myself now so I can actually read it on my other screen. Well, all right, so they are the hosts. It's a good opportunity to network. When you come into the place, so just very quickly, so Amadeus and Anston, you're sort of playing music in one of the 2 rooms, one of the 2 apartments, sorry, and dancing away. John, you're probably here. Do you play? You don't have to be particularly good, but do you play?
Let's say play the piano.
Okay, all right. So you could be playing the piano while Amadeus and Anston play their respective instruments, which I've forgotten, but I do. Oh, no, Anston, Atlanta is a trumpetier, right?
Yeah.
Horn man, the blower.
And
I was going to go for piano, but it's already taken, so I don't know. He's going to play some cool...
No, you're probably way better. It doesn't take long. John doesn't actually happen to be particularly skilled in music.
In that case, we take turns or something.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'm sitting, learning from you. Because you're my father figure now.
Oh, am I? That's what you're telling me this now.
He's just attached himself to you. You just completely minding your own business. At the same time, I'm just... you can... you note that there are 2 sort of... what would they be? They'd be in their sort of early 30s, late 20s now. 2 guys sort of holding court in one part of the rent party. So those of you who are playing, they're not in that part because that's where all the dancing's happening. So that's the apartment where all the dancing happening. In the other apartment, there's a much more sort of, speakeasy kind of feel to it. So people are drinking alcohol, and there's 2 guys holding court talking generally about sort of describing their experiences, sort of racing across from trench to trench in France during the Great War. Can I get, probably start with Father Legba. So would you be so kind as to make an observation roll for me, please?
So is it 5? Isn't it? It's 2 plus
your
logic.
Empathy.
Is it empathy? So
yeah,
that'll be empathy. So oh god, let me just
clear it.
Empathy and it's automatically selected logic for some reason. So don't know why it's done
maybe,
that.
Maybe I've got it wrong. Maybe observation draws on. It's been a while.
It is empathy. It's meant to be empathy. But if I click, click observation. Yeah. All right. Let me just clear it. So let's just what is my logic? And I just need one more dice. So let me just roll. I need. Why is it only done?
Well, you rolled like 10 dice and got no successes, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. No,
right,
nothing.
so,
no successes.
No successes. All right. So you don't notice anything particularly important. They're telling this quite gripping story of fighting in these woods. Some French place that you don't recognise. Although, noting your background, you probably have at least a passing familiarity with some elements of French. Okay, so...
Yeah, got some learning.
Yeah, so you're in that room, listening to them chat and sort of networking. John, which room do you find yourself in? Are you in the sort of dancing side of the rent party, or are you in the networking, chatting to people side of the rent party?
Probably as a kid in his 20s, probably dancing his
dancing his heart out.
Yeah.
Okay. Could I get a vigilance roll from you, please?
Sure.
Since you're actually dancing.
Okay, vigilance. Okay, one success.
Yeah, that's all it takes. It's Vaesen. All right, so you're dancing away, sort of having a grand old time, moving, quite effectively because you've got massive physique, but you're always very, you're like one of those big-eared rabbits, right? Like you're always looking out for noises and sounds that might presage the arrival of police vehicles or, just white people in general. You can hear sort of starting, and it starts really low, and then it's building up, but just in your ears, right? Like it's kind of weird sound. There's this weird piping sound, like a sort of a pipping or a piping sound kind of starting to sort of resonate in your ears. It doesn't appear to be coming from any instruments or any like gramophone or anything. It's not scratchy like a gramophone. It's clearly being played. It sounds a little bit like a sort of low flute. Like a flute, but with a really low, breathy sound.
Okay. Very strange.
And it's despite the fact it should be drowned out, right? Like you're surrounded by people dancing on wooden floors. You've got everyone screaming and shouting, when people are doing, sort of the moves. Like it's a really excited, energetic space. And then, of course, you've actually got the music itself. You can hear this noise even though it's an undertone. It's like it's on a different wavelength to the rest of the sound.
I just stood for a moment and looked around me.
All right. You can see a few other people starting to slow down, like on their, like they're also obviously sort of, cocking their heads, as it were. But yeah, you can't make another. Make another vigilance roll. I think that's the only way you're going to be able to do it.
Sure. Another success.
Okay. You think the sound is coming from outside?
Okay. I will go outside, maybe. Just carefully look outside.
So the windows are closed. You're on sort of the second story of the building. Are you going to go down the stairs and out, or are you just going to go and open up a window and look out?
I'll crack a window, maybe open it.
Okay, so the windows are actually
Shut.
But you can unlock it. It's not like they're hammered, nailed, or anything. But obviously, like this is an illegal party, So, you know, music sort of pounding out onto the street would be a bad thing. So there's various things they've done to try and keep it lower. All right, so you pop the window and stick your head out. It's a cold day, sort of midwinter or early winter, New York. So there's a light dusting of snow on the ground. And yeah, you can, now that you're actually paying attention to it, you can hear the piping noise coming from outside much more sort of once you put your head out the window. But once again, the reason you can hear it better isn't because it gets louder. It's actually because you've now popped your head away from the rest of the sound. So the tone or loudness of the sound is constant, doesn't change when you put your head out. It's just the other noise sort of drops away.
I cannot see anyone in the street.
Not yet. So can I get a vigilance roll from Atlanta and Amadeus as well, please?
And try. Vigilance.
Vigilance is
Vigilance.
A logic roll, right?
That's correct, yeah. And if the sheet's poorly set up, that's my fault. Apologies.
Oh, hold on. That's way too many dice.
I should have 6.
That is way too many dice.
6. So that's fine.
Nice.
No, don't spoil anything.
No. Okay, all right. You guys are merrily playing away at this point. Okay. Although you do notice that people have stopped dancing quite as much as they were only seconds ago. And there is obviously a sort of weirdness to something because people are stopping dancing and sort of cocking their heads to this sound. Father Legbar, could you make a vigilance roll for me, please? Actually, you don't need to make a vigilance roll, actually. I'll tell you what, you don't need to make a vigilance roll.
Okay.
Sorry. You see the two guys who were holding court.
Yep.
Were talking.
I'd be in that sort of vicinity for definite.
Yeah, so they... so you probably gathered their names. Now the problem of making the sheets big enough to read is... come on, where is it? Yeah, it is. No. Was James... Javier Jordan, as in Javier. Javier.
Right.
Jordan. And James Smithson are the two guys who were holding court.
Okay.
They're obviously members of the 369th Regiment, or ex-members, I should say. Okay, you see them both get up, sort of quite abruptly, actually, and start to stagger out of the room. Now, they've been drinking. They've been drinking quite a bit of alcohol in the party. They're obviously a big draw card for people to come to that side. They tell these interesting stories. People sit around, listen to the stories, and drink alcohol, which is what you want. However, what you do note about them is they're moving quite mechanically. It's a kind of stuttering sort of stomp, if you will. It's not...
Right.
They're not walking like drunk men. They're not sort of, weaving their way out of the room. They're not doing that super cautious thing that people do when they're drunk, where they're really paying attention.
It's almost like a Ministry of Silly Walks type thing, almost.
Yeah, that's right. Like very much, more like they're walking like people on parade.
Right. So
they're sort of kicking their feet forward and step marching.
I would basically move to intercept if I possibly could.
Okay, you absolutely can move to intercept.
Are you okay, my sons?
Both of them look at you, sort of shake their heads for a second. I will want you to make an observation roll at this point for me, please.
Observation. So that is empathy. 6
Yeah, I'm
dice.
just going to make sure that it is empathy. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Paul, you're clipping a bit.
Oh, am I?
Reduce gain on your mic.
Like you're hitting the limiter.
All right, just bear with me a second so I can. Don't know how I can change that. I'm not sure how I can change that. Okay. I'll see if I can sort that in a second.
Okay.
All right, observation check for me, please.
That's a crit.
It's a crit. What does that mean?
Well done.
It means you get
I got 3 6s.
Right. Okay.
I think. I don't know, but I've just rolled it, and that's what it's private.
No.
All right, sorry.
No,
Yeah,
I've got it.
it's
I
very
can see it.
impressive.
All right.
I'll re-roll.
Okay.
I re-roll because I accidentally did it as private, so we can all see.
No, it's okay.
I still got a 6, so that's fine.
No. The 3 6s is fine. We could see them once you made it.
We trust you, Father.
Okay.
Okay, so you sort of step up to them. They look at you quite blankly. Now, we sort of talked about this previously, that you're not actually a practitioner of Verdun or voodoo.
No.
But you do know what it looks like.
Yes.
So these guys look at you quite blankly, and they are moving quite mechanically, like they're under the influence of something else. And they sort of push past you. Yeah, and they push past you. Yeah, with a critical success, it's clear to you that they are under the influence of something else, and they just jam past you. Pretty much unconcerned.
That's very worrying.
And at this point, you can also hear the sort of piping sound, which sounds like, it doesn't sound like something you've necessarily spent a lot of time with, but it's definitely, that tune is in tune with their march.
Right.
So I'm giving you a lot, but you did get 3 successes. So it's clear that the piping sound that you can hear has some relationship with their march walk that you can see them doing. And they basically just push past you. They're both biggish guys, and just kind of jam past you and stumble out through the doorway.
Okay, can I see either John, Anston, or Amadeus?
So all 3 of them were in the other
room.
Apartment.
Okay.
Now
I will follow.
A door has been an entryway has been carved into the wall, so you can move between the 2 apartments quite readily.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you don't have to go out into the corridor and then go through the other door, like they've done all these dodgy things to make.
Well, if I get opportunity when I'm following them, I'll try to get the attention of the other 3 in a sort of, and then follow the 2 ex-army people.
Okay. All right. You don't, unfortunately, you can't really see the other guys.
Right. Okay.
So you can either go into the other room and get the guys and sort of try and hit.
I don't want to lose sight of these obviously in distress, even though they might not realise it at the moment, people.
Okay, so Anston and Amadeus, at this point, the music, the sound, the piping sound is now in your ears, so you can hear it as well now. It's quite distracting. It breaks all your timing, right? So you can't keep, the tempo going because you've got this sort of thing playing in your ears. It's like tinnitus sort of ringing in your ears, but with a beat, almost. So I would suggest to you, your music kind of falters at this point because it's actually very hard to play while this is all going on inside your head.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that John Arnsworth, who you've had a little bit to do with is looking out a window. You can see that people, particularly once you guys and your play gets interrupted, you do have a third player playing with you who does not initially stop playing because he's too good. Rhys Williams, who's one of the Charleston Kings, is playing as well. But even he's being disrupted. All right, so Arnsworth, you're looking out the window. In the distance now, you can see a small group of men moving down the street towards the apartment. They are stumbling and shuffling. They appear... they're wearing heavy coats. However, all of the coats that they are wearing, it's dark. The street is not well lit, but there's a certain commonality of appearance to the men. Like they all seem to be dressed reasonably similarly, but at this point you can't make out what they're wearing. It's just a shape.
Even with my binoculars, I cannot see it, right?
You can pull out your binoculars at this point and have a good hard look if you want.
Yeah, please.
In which case, I think it's a vigilance +2, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
I've got your binoculars. I gave them to you only yesterday. That's embarrassing. Go for it.
And +2, right?
Yeah. Oh, don't hit +2, add +2 dice.
Okay. Vigilance, come on, baby. And buff?
No, not buff. You should be able to just add more dice.
Yeah, okay. And of course, 0 successes because it's too dark.
It's too dark. There's the binoculars are foggy. They're getting fog on the glass, obviously, so you can... sort of, it's cold, and it's the difference in temperature between inside the room and outside the room causes humidity that forms on the binoculars, blinding you.
Yeah, probably I won't trust a couple of people wearing the same uniform getting towards us, so I'm trying to not make a big mess, but try to alert the people in the apartment at least.
Okay, so, what are you doing? How are you doing that?
I'm going to Anston tell him that Atlanta, there's people coming toward us. I have a bad feeling about this.
Well, we don't let the customers down, but this noise we can all hear is putting me off my rhythm. Can I make eye signals to the band to do a nice jazz play and finale and finish for a while?
Sure.
Cool. Do you want me to roll a dice to signal correctly to the band?
No. I think that can be handled without dice. It's the oldest piece of important information for a band to know, which is when to stop playing and walk off the stage. Surely.
We do it all in rhythm. We do it all coordinated.
It's the exit maneuver.
Yeah.
That's it. We're done. Okay, so at this point, we've lost Paul. He's assumedly fiddling with his mic. All right, so Arnsworth, Atlanta, Winthrop.
Yeah.
So Arnsworth, you've said this to Atlanta. Atlanta, you've kind of stopped the playing. What are you guys up to?
Well, listening for the tone, and if John is telling us about the strange people out on the road, I might sneak a peek.
Okay, well, you look out the window. Same story. Shuffling group of men.
How many? You said a small number.
It's a small group, probably six. Yeah, about that. It's not a big group. But as already noted, sort of, you can make a vigilance roll to see if you can sort of work out.
Vigilance. It's also logic, isn't it? So it should be
Yeah.
1 from there, and 5 from there is 6. So I've got 6. So my sheet seems to work. 2 successes.
2 successes. All right. They are clearly wearing sort of military style overcoats.
Now, is that usual for them to be wearing those because that's the only thing they have? Or would they have to go through a special sort of coordinated effort to turn up like that?
Oh, look, there are obviously people on the street, still wearing their demobbed uniforms and those sorts of things. However, and this is sort of, I'm tossing up whether it's investigation or learning. I think it's probably learning. Do you want to make a learning roll for me as well, since you've got 2 successes?
Learning. So that is logic as well. So 5 plus 2, 7. Looks good.
Yeah.
No successes.
No successes. Okay. The one thing you do know is these guys are white.
All right. So there could be trouble.
Oh, hold on. Yeah.
There seems to be a gang of vets, of white vets, down on the road.
Are they headed this way?
Yeah, coming towards here.
Are they playing these pipes I can hear?
I don't know.
They are not playing a set of pipes. However, they are moving in tune with the pipes.
Weird. Can I open I assume these are sash windows.
Yeah, I'll make room for you at my window.
Can I open a window and stick my head out and work out where the sound is coming from, particularly this annoying sound?
You can, or you can make an attempt to do so. Do you want to make an I'll let you make a call. It can be vigilance or investigation. Your call.
You can't make observation?
No, because that's about people, not about...
Okay.
actually, all right, yeah, go on. I'll let you do observation. But and to explain why, because what I'm going to give you is you're actually listening for the music, not listening, right? And music and playing music and all of that comes out of inspiration and empathy. So I'll give you observation as a sort of proxy for that.
Right. So my observation is based on empathy, right? Which is
correct.
My biggest thing, and it's which is 5 plus 1. So that is we have a
6 die.
And I'm going to roll those, and I get a success.
Success. All right. So you see, or rather, you hear. So yes, so the music is coming from the street. It's not coming from the group. So it's definitively not coming from the group. It's a little bit down the street, not as far as actually the group of shuffling individuals are. It's actually closer to you than that. It sounds like it's coming from a side street, maybe about, I don't know, let's say 15 meters sort of along. So we're playing American, so 45 feet, give or take.
So I'm sticking my head out the window, and I believe Father Legbar left the house, right?
Yeah, so at this point
Can I see him in the street?
Yeah, so you see the two guys, the 2 guys that he's following come out onto the street first. So there's 2 of them. They're African American. They're reasonably heavily built. Look labourish. And then you see Father Daniel sort of come out behind them onto the street. At this point, you also see the 6 or so people at the other end who are now getting somewhat closer stop when the 2 guys come out onto the street, and you see them sort of, shuffling into a sort of line.
So, hold on. Now, I know nothing about...
A line that way, by the way.
Sorry? What sort of line? A line like a firing squad?
Kind of like a firing squad.
Right. I was about to shout a warning to Father Legbar anyway.
Yeah.
I'm now more urgently shouting a warning to Father Legbar, and I'm going to say, there's some white militia. But the music, and I'll point to the side street where the music's coming from. The music's coming from there.
Can I see where it's coming from?
Well, you hear someone yelling out from above you.
Okay.
They're sort of 2 stories. They're almost 2 stories above you, right? It's fine. There's not a lot of noise on the street. They yell out that there's some sort of white militia coming towards you. At this point, your attention is probably drawn to the 6 men who are lining up in what looks very much like a bunch of guys lining up to shoot guns at you. You've got your 2 guys, the 2 guys you've been following, sort of mechanically sort of walking. There are cars on the street. There are things you can duck behind. I will also point out there are things you can push them behind.
I'm not that big. I'm of an average build, but I'm definitely trying to get the 2 people out of harm's way.
Okay, so make a force roll for me, which I think exactly 0 dice in, but
that's 3 dice then. Nope.
Would you like to push that roll?
Yes, please. Yeah, I am definitely gonna. I'm obviously gonna exhaust. And I think I can exhaust myself.
Have you really only got 3 dice for that?
Yeah, I've only got 3 physique.
All right.
Yeah,
and no skill. So, I'm going to exhaust myself. That seems logical. Nope.
No. All right. So, at this point,
ineffectually exhaust myself.
You see the 3 guys with guns kind of shuffle forward. Sorry, not 3. 6 guys with guns.
6. They have actually got guns as well.
It becomes apparent now that they have guns. They have long arms.
Right.
So they have rifles. Which is reasonably unusual on, this is pre sort of 2008 American gun law, which is quite amazing to think about the fact that the gun law was changed in 2008. It's actually not legal to just have rifles on the street. No. It's not normative. So you see them sort of lining up and they start shooting. All right, so at this point, the 2 guys sort of suddenly are brought into the real world by the gunfire. One of them takes a bullet to...
I'm getting in the way.
Hit. Oh, you're getting in the way. Okay. All right, so you're leaping in front of the bullets, just to be clear.
Good to know you, Father. I'm not for long, I know.
It was a short.
Well, I'm a Catholic priest. I'm trying to, even though I am sort of, I'm still a nice person. I would basically try to get in the way. Get in the way. I'm pulling them away, so obviously I'm in the way of the gunfire.
All right, so you can take another physical condition.
I'll take wounded. Seems appropriate.
Yep, seems appropriate. So you get winged by a bullet, diving in the way. The other 2 guys are suddenly sort of shaken awake by this loud crack of gunfire and duck behind a car, dragging you with them. They now grab you and drag you behind the car. The other 3 of you can see this sort of staccato of gunfire, and then there's flashes. Can I ask what you do? Atlanta, what do you do?
I am not pulling my gun to shoot at white folks.
Right. Okay.
Just make that really clear.
You've seen where that
And
leads.
neither am I sticking my head and shoulders out the fucking window anymore. I'm going back inside. I learned some stuff in this last adventure.
So, all right. So you pull your head back inside and what? Just disappear into the room to avoid.
You know what? I'm not rushing into danger. I like the room. The room's good.
All right. Amadeus, what are you doing?
I'm going to make my way downstairs because I probably noticed that there's definitely a threat out there. I want to help, but I'll very carefully sort of peek around the corner from the house entrance and see where there's cover I can move to.
Okay, so you're basically bounding down. You sort of bound out the
Bound down the stairs, but then carefully
and bound down the stairs.
And I might just shout at the others, "Come, we need to help them to get them into cover."
All right, Atlanta. Amadeus is bolting for the door, yelling, "You know, come on, give me a hand."
To help our brothers.
I will try to go toward this where the sound is.
Yep. So are you going downstairs?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you and Amadeus are both running out the doors and down the stairs together. Atlanta, one of you.
I will follow them, having been cajoled by Amadeus.
Right.
I'm lagging behind.
Right. Just a couple of steps behind at all times. All right. So you both bundle out. You can see that what these guys are doing is kind of weirdly precise, kind of regimented firing. So, they're almost walking forward shooting. It's a very sort of, it's a very manufactured form of
100 years out of
firing.
date.
Yeah, it feels very, it's parade ground stuff, right? Like this isn't how people, particularly after the first month or so of World War I, this isn't how people fight, right? So they're moving forward. You can see Daniel, Father Daniel, and the other two guys are sort of bunkered down. You can see them just crossing. You see one of the two guys pull out a pistol and start to return fire over the top of the car.
That's the father. Let him.
I'd be trying not to stop him doing that.
Okay, what are you going to say to him to stop him from defending his life from a bunch of maniacs with rifles? Just so we've got the context of this experience.
Thou shalt not kill.
Oh, right, okay, you're making an inquiry. To a guy who fought in World War One but killed himself. Okay, can I get
Shall not kill white guys is something I've learned.
That's right. Or at least not be able to be located. It's important that it not occur in public or in any way traceable to you. Can I get a manipulation roll from you, Father Daniel?
An inspiration roll?
I really think it's manipulation.
Okay.
I don't think it's inspiration.
That's 6 dice.
All right.
Do I get any penalties for my wounds? They're physical, so they shouldn't penalise
They
me.
do not count.
No. I was just double checking.
You're clipping again on your microphone as well.
Okay, I'll try to.
Let's do this first.
Quietly.
All right, so there's a single success. Okay, he so he stops shooting and sort of bunkers down, but he's not put his pistol away. He says, "All right, Father, if they don't come around the corner of the car, I won't shoot them."
Let's run.
You have to turn the other cheek, remember? As Bruce just said.
Let's run.
So, all right. So you scurrying from vehicle in vehicle.
I'm trying to get them to do it as well. I wouldn't be doing it unless they were doing it.
All right. So there's more gunfire, but they're now sort of scurrying back towards the building, sort of using cars as much as they can.
Sorry, hold on.
Can I get
Confederates, for want of a better word, given that that's how they're shooting, are they now more in skirmish mode and going for cover? Or are they still walking in a straight line?
No, they're still walking down the street, firing in a highly regimented fashion.
Now I'm outside.
Yes.
How easy is it for me to scurry to the alleyway where I think that noise is coming from?
So you'll actually run the risk of being exposed, but you can use vehicles as cover.
Cool.
But you are heading towards the men with the guns, to be clear.
I have an extra dodge roll every time I...
Is that because you're dodgy geezer?
On the basis of GM, a classic exchange of, well, I know which one of these two talents would be more useful in the module. Yes. Take defensive.
So I'm going to make one sprint.
All right, now Arnsworth I think Arnsworth wanted to do the same thing. So John, you wanted to run towards where the music was coming from as well, didn't you?
Yes.
All right, so the way this looks is, on one side of the street, you've got the two guys from the 369th plus Father Legba moving back down the street, sort of running from vehicle to vehicle, trying to find cover. On the other side of the street, you've got John and Atlanta running in the opposite direction using the vehicles for cover. You've got a bunch of guys with long arms moving down the middle of the street, sort of opening fire primarily and pretty heavily focused on the people running from vehicle to vehicle in retreat. Amadeus, what are you doing? You're the only one I don't have a placement
I'm gesturing to the father and the other two people who accompany him and say, come on, we need to get inside. We need to get off the street. I'm sure they'll not follow us.
Okay. Can I get a... stealth. Can I get stealth rolls from Atlanta and John, please?
Not for me, good.
Stealth. Okay. Decent one. Like a ghost. 3 successes.
Oh, you got to clear your dice pool before you roll. Yeah, cool.
That's the dice I normally roll on stuff. I get one success on stealth.
All right, so one thing you notice very quickly is John moves like he barely leaves an imprint on the snow. He is the Legolas of this adventure. And he moves much faster than you. Sort of flitting from vehicle to vehicle, almost.
That's okay. I'm kind of lagging behind, but at the same time.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, this works for you. That's right. I forgot. So at one point, you're sort of going down the street. They're coming this way. You do cross the paths of the guys with guns. You sort of are ignored, but you can now make them out in much greater detail than you could previously. There's no need for a vigilance roll, but there may be a need for a learning roll in a second. So to describe, these guys are all wearing and no out-of-player knowledge here, because when I describe this, I think one of you might be able to recognise it, but should be able to recognise it. Okay, so they're wearing long coats. They've got long rifles. They have these flat sort of caps, like they're not wearing sort of hats that you've ever seen a soldier wear, because none of you served in World War One, and in particular, these are not. What you do notice straight away is these are not American issue hats. They have little sort of they have a little sort of metal piece right in the front, and they're sort of almost like a beret. They're kind of around, but they don't flop down on one side. They're kind of popped up all the way around. The overcoats themselves are sort of heavy-duty coats. They don't look particularly American either, and they're certainly not the sort of khaki ground sort of Well, they khaki green
They're
with
grey,
the
aren't they?
Americans.
They're grey.
Sorry? They're grey. Yeah, they are grey.
They're a lighter grey than, they're a darker grey than the Confederate uniforms.
They absolutely are a darker grey than the Confederate uniforms, but they
look
are
like
grey.
kind little sailor hats, don't they?
They do look a bit like sailor hats, yes. Now, all right, so at least one of you knows what it is then. Can I get a learning roll from both Atlanta and Arnsworth, please? And John?
Yeah, your learning button doesn't work. I will roll that.
There's a hat here, but I don't think it looks the same.
No, I was just trying to think whether... I'm not going to push it, even though the German wearing a small hat should give me a clue.
I put it this way, maybe.
Yeah, that's getting closer to the mark.
Yeah, that's it.
No, wrong. Just
that
wrong.
would be quite close.
That'd be quite weird. All right, so neither John or Atlanta recognize the uniform. Okay, so but the other thing you notice, and this you do, I need a fear test. So can I get, you can use either empathy or logic to resist fear.
Is it all of us?
No.
The two of us, John and I, you mean?
Yeah.
Straight empathy or logic, right?
Correct.
Okay, I suck at both, so...
I get one success.
Okay.
Yep. 0 success.
Okay. All right. You both... So the thing that you are struck by almost immediately is, and I'll just
the thing you're struck by is a rifle bullet.
No, the thing you're struck by is that these men have horrific wounds on their, like, so they are
shot in
dead
the
men
face.
walking. So you take 1 mental condition, Anston. So Atlanta, and John, you take 2.
Okay, so I'm frightened.
Come on, found my conditions.
Scroll right down to the bottom. They're near the bottom.
And they're near the top. 1 mental condition.
Oh, yeah.
Well, obviously I am frightened by these.
From the top, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So frightened or hopeless when I'm taking a condition. I guess angry is the first one, then the second one is frightened, right?
Yeah, you can.
Well, it's up to you. You can choose them in any order you want.
Yeah. Just broken, you shouldn't choose first.
Yeah,
broken.
Only choose broken when the others have gotten.
So these guys are mortally injured individuals. They've been blown up by artillery shells. They've been shot in the face. They've been stabbed. They've been hacked. They've got rotting faces and bodies. On closer inspection, you realise the uniforms are quite torn and damaged. And you sort of, you're hit by this kind of realisation that you're dealing with the dead walking down
and they
the street.
smell dead as well, do they?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, let's add a bit of sensory additions to the story. And the other thing is, you can hear, it's like a whisper rather than like voices. Like it's like background whispers, right? It's like you're in a big room and lots of people are whispering. There's all these voices being whispered around them, and those whispers are in a foreign language. But they're also sort of the screams of the dying or the cries for help, or it's a pretty full-on experience. Now
this whispering, is it in any way connected with the music, the piping?
No, you don't think so. You think the movement of the soldiers is 100% in cadence with the sound of the piping. Now, you've seen some pretty horrific things in the past, Atlanta, with people using, magic to sort of kill people and do other nasty things and drain souls.
I have stabbed one or two people as well.
Yeah.
You have stabbed one or two people, he deserved it, every bit of it. So this isn't your first time at the rodeo, but yeah. Now, you were running down the street. At this point, the soldiers are still shouting. So, Amadeus, you've yelled out for Legba and the other two guys to come to you, which they've now sort of done. Mm-hmm. They've sort of run up to you. You can see that Father Daniel's obviously quite damaged now.
Yeah, first of
he's
all,
been
get him
shot
off the street, and then I can still look at his wounds.
All right. You're about 2/3 of the way down the street, Atlanta and Arnsworth. I guess the question is, do you continue to move down the street when you realise this is what you see?
Can I? How far are we from the alleyway where the music's coming from?
So you're probably only about 15 feet now. So sort of not far, 5 meters.
You can jump that. 15 feet.
Yeah. I'm gonna say to John, push on, John.
Yeah.
Get down that alleyway. The answer's there. This sort of shit I've dealt with before. There's always a fucking musical.
Okay. At least they're playing better than you. You played very bad at the party.
Wow. Really?
There's always time for that.
Always time for a bit of, sort of contributive sort of coverage. Okay, you guys, at this point, a couple of things go on. Obviously, people have phoned the police. There's gunfire in the streets, and it's quite a lot of gunfire. It's not, one shot ringing out in the darkness. This is military, 6 people firing, sort of repeating rifles down a road. You hear police sirens now approaching quite rapidly. As you go around the corner, a couple of things happen. You see, can you both make vigilance rolls, actually? That's probably the most logical thing.
And,
so that is Atlanta and Arnsworth, yes.
Okay, and I remove 2 dice, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Depends which
And I
condition
take
it is.
one away.
They're both mental, so that is correct.
Okay, how to remove? Okay, good. Ooh, one
I'm
success.
just running for the thing. I'm not particularly care what I see.
Okay, so Atlanta, you are running up to the corner when you can see what looks like a police car sort of coming now down the street towards you. As the siren... Sorry?
Blocking my way, or just...
No, just coming down the main road.
Shooters, the active shooters with long arms.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck for the policeman in this particular circumstance.
No. You see the police vehicle. It's very loud and it's very siren-y, right?
Siren-y.
You realize a couple of things. One, that siren is actually drowning out the piping. So, it's this really loud, sort of sound. John, you come around the corner. There's no one there, but there is the sort of fading sound of the piping. The thing you notice, though, is as the siren got closer, you could see that the soldiers were fading in some fashion.
Ooh, fading.
Becoming sort of more misty, less material.
Oh, actually, physically fading.
Yeah.
Right.
So you were bolting around the corner, Atlanta, just paying attention to get into the thing. Arnsworth looks behind him and seeing that these as the siren got louder and it was drowning out the sort of the piping sound, you see that the soldiers are fading, like they're literally fading away. And then by the time you get around the corner, and you realise whatever was making the sound is gone, the soldiers are gone.
Just go.
What's going on? Atlanta. They just disappeared.
You mean there's no white guys with guns now?
There are no white guys with guns now.
I am carrying on down that bloody alley.
Hey, wait for me. Don't leave me in the alleyway alone. Wait.
Okay, so you guys now see the police sort of car. There's like 3 of them rocking up out the front of the apartment block you're in. Father Daniel and Amadeus, what are you guys doing? So the police are piling out of their vehicles. They're obviously going to come into
when the
apartment.
police are coming, can I just shout up the stairwell to say, the cops are here? I guess that's the right word.
Right, okay, yeah, you hear noises from upstairs.
And then I'll see that I can drag the injured father down the cellar stairs. And
I'm going to make sure that the 2 soldiers have booked it. Because one of them is packing a gun and he needs to get away, basically. So
they look quite shell-shocked. So they kind of woke up in the middle of a gunfight.
Can I inspire them to leg it as soon as we hear the police cars?
You can. Make a inspiration roll for me, please.
So that's 6 dice. That's a success.
Okay, they sort of shake their heads a bit and start to make their way to the back.
You have to go.
Amadeus is trying to take you down the stairs into the cellar or into the basement of the apartment block, assumably to keep you out of the way of the police. The police sort of bundle through the building and you hear shouting, sort of, there's 2 of them! And they're like, you can hear the sound of a chase being undertaken as they run through the building, obviously giving chase to the 2 guys that you were with.
You want to start distraction for them? Some sort of...
Okay, so I'm a Catholic priest.
You are a Catholic priest.
Am I still
slightly dodgy, but still Catholic?
Yeah. Am I still going to get beaten the hell out of by the police because I'm black?
It's New York. You're a Catholic priest. The chances are actually pretty low that you're gonna...
Okay, I'm gonna.
With witnesses, the chances are very low that you're going to suffer significant physical risk. No,
but he's Irish.
That's true.
And I've been shot.
Or Italian.
I've been shot basically. So I'm gonna approach the police. Bleeding.
All right. So you kind of leave. So injured,
thus causing a distraction, basically.
All right, so you come stumbling back up the stairs then. There's Irish and Italian police everywhere looking for whatever's gone down. There's obvious signs of a gunfight.
And dog collar, very, very prominent.
Very prominently shown. One of them looks at you for a second, does a double take, realising that A, you're African American, and B, you're a priest. That's the double take moment. Looks at you again, does the mental calculation that it's unlikely that you're pretending to be a priest. And goes, Father? In a sort of questioning voice. I'm not.
Yes, my son.
Offensive to all Irish people.
I got shot.
I'm fussing a little
Oh
bit.
my God! Well, look, we're hunting the criminals right now, Father. It's okay. But if we could get a statement from you, that would be really helpful.
Certainly, and I'll basically fuss around and cause a bit of a bother, and not purposely slow them down, but purposely try to not obviously purposely slow them down, but try to slow them down.
I might just tell them, can you help me? He needs to be looked at. I need to look at his wound, but he won't hold still.
Oh, Dr. Winthrop, one of them sort of obviously recognises you. You're a pillar of the community, that sort of thing. Also, you work in the Harlem Hospital, so...
Yeah.
All right, so... wow. Of course. Father, you need to just take a breath, man. You know, just sit down and...
Sorry, I'm just very concerned.
Oh, about what? I mean, God, I was being shot.
Yes, about the... did it go through?
It was a glancing wound, so we'll assume so, yes.
Okay, all right.
Didn't go through anything vital, is the important.
All right, I was hoping to still have the bullet for reasons, but never mind.
There's a whole stack of them outside. You can
well, yeah. Okay, so yeah, it was people with rifles.
All right, they all sort of stop for a second and go, with rifles?
Yeah, long rifles.
Might have been one of the local gangs wanting to sort of, put a stop to, some people had parties, I hear. Might be selling a bit of booze on the side, outside of the control of some of the gangs.
I'm very cautious not to say anything. The father sort of has got a halo on there for some protection.
There was a prayer session upstairs with a few hymns being sung, as far as I'm aware.
God, see for a second and goes, I hear very loud hymns, I hear.
I believe so.
You know us. It's live, let live. Your community stays out of our way. We stay out of your community's way.
Yes.
But he points outside where there are shattered windows of vehicles and all these other, sort of signs of significant violence. Guys,
and they drove off that way, basically. You know what I mean? I saw them disappear, didn't I?
Did you see them disappear? Probably not. Okay. They were just gone.
All right.
Because you guys were running into the building. So...
And I finally look at now.
Mind you, 1 minute they were there, 1 minute they were gone. You didn't see them disappear, but they did disappear, if that makes sense.
Right, okay.
Okay, so yes, finally you can look at his wound. Make a
medicine roll.
Medicine roll.
Medical bag. I've got +2 if I have it handy or can get it from my car.
Yeah, I assume you've got it wherever you are.
My car's probably shot up, isn't it?
Yep.
Just can't catch a break. Always happens to me in Cthulhu as well. My car's always broken. Normally because I crash it. So, roll, I'm in the chat window for some reason. Now I can't see the roll window.
Sometimes the
6 dice. You should.
Chat window just
don't have wealth.
Far too many dice. Let's try that again. And then +2d6 on top. Not a single success.
So, obviously, the bullet injury is more significant than you first thought. Okay, so this guy's talking to you. He seems mostly, sort of harmless, for want of better language. About a few minutes later, though, another police car rolls up. Now, you don't you know the local precinct, which is the 30th precinct.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where these guys come from. And you probably have spent a fair amount of time between the two of you sort of getting to know who the local police are.
Mm-hmm.
A new police car rocks up. This car is badged with the 32nd precinct on the door. So you know how on the door they sort of note what precinct they come from. This one has the 32nd precinct on it, which is a precinct outside of Harlem proper, although just outside of Harlem.
Right. Reinforcements.
Yeah. Two big buff white dudes get out of the car and, you know, sort of start questioning the police from the 30th precinct. So you're very much observers rather than participants in this conversation unless you seek to interject. They sort of, oi, and they point to the guy that's been talking to you quite friendly, I guess, at least respectfully, pull him off to one side and start sort of gesticulating and yelling and carrying on. And the guy's like, no, this is our investigation, you know, like this is our precinct. And the guy's sort of looks down at him and says something pretty directly. And the guy says, all right, I don't want to get in the way, and sort of steps out of the way. One of the two dudes sort of mutters something to the other guy and then starts organising the guys from the 30th. They're both sergeants. They're both sort of superior officers. Most of the guys on the ground are not. The guy you were talking to was a sergeant, but they seem to have told him what's for what. One of the two guys comes over to you. Now, he's quite aggressive and perceptibly so. So you can feel... you guys probably have never seen Once Were Warriors, so I don't know how to...
I have.
What
Oh, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, okay.
Amazing film.
Yeah, possibly the most confronting movie I've ever seen. That's something.
Yeah.
So as he walks towards you, you just get this sense of violence from this guy. Like, this is a man whose dislike of you is so palpable, it's literally present in your minds as soon as he walks up to you, right? Like his face, his demeanor, everything is dismissive and dominating. So he steps up to you, takes one look at the both of you and says, I didn't know that the Catholics were so pathetic that they were letting black people in now. Like, it's literally the first thing he says before he says anything else. Just looks at you. Of course, what else could you expect from a bunch of Itais and, you know, Irishmen? You're just one step removed, really, aren't you? Anyway, what did you see?
People shooting guns.
Yeah. How many? What do they look like?
Long coats, flat hats, long arms.
Right, whatever. What about your fellow congregants? See a couple of those with guns, perchance? Maybe?
No.
You know, I can take you just down to the precinct right now. Obstructing an investigation is a very serious crime in this town.
Why? How would we be obstructing you, my son?
Well, first of all, talking back to a police officer, obviously, you know, first thing right there already. Uppity. Just uppity, really.
The last thing I'd like to do is than upset you, officer.
Oh, mate, you're not upsetting me. You're just acting exactly the way I'd expect you to. Can I get vigilance? Actually, can I get observation rolls from both of you, please?
I'm really at pains to not say anything.
You're now just silent.
I'm still fussing with his wound, you know.
Nope.
One.
Okay. So, quite unusually, this guy's got a tattoo. And unusually because police don't tend to tattoo, right? It's not...
Against the uniform guidelines, isn't it?
Yeah. So this you can see poking out just underneath the sleeve of his jacket the edge of a tattoo. Can I get a learning roll now, please?
You can try. Learning. That. No, my learning about tattoos is very limited.
Yeah. All right. So you don't recognize the form of it, but you do note that he's got a tattoo, which is really unusual. Like, the police don't tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a couple of police who have tattoos because maybe they weren't always police.
Right, officer, I really need to get this young man here to disinfect his wound.
I'm in the mid-30s, so yeah, sorry.
Young man, I'm over 60.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right. Well, look, we'll be. So what? What's your names? Where do you live?
I am Father Daniel Langber. I'm found at the rectory.
All right. Yep.
Dr. Winthrop, you can find me at Harlem Hospital. And I give them my address as well.
Yeah. The Black Hospital. Now, he uses a different word, but I'm just not comfortable to use that word, so I'm not going to.
It's good.
Yeah. But you can infer that every time I use African American or black from this guy, that another word is being used in its place. So we've got black priest from a black church. It's almost like they think they know what religion is, and we've got no white person's going to want to operate on you, so I guess you've got to do what you can do with what you've got at the hospital. Nice. All right. Well,
you're from the 32nd, are you?
Yeah. 32nd. Good that you noted that. We need to make sure this investigation works.
Just, remind me, where's the 32nd?
Oh, look, a couple of blocks that way. Does it matter? Not really. I mean, you might need to come over one day.
Yeah, indeed.
Have a special chat.
In case we know anything extra. Who should we ask for to give you extra information?
Oh, mate, you just need to come over. Any of us would be willing to help. It's always nice when one of your community, offers to help.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's critical.
Don't know whether they have numbers at the time. Did they have numbers on the uniform at the time?
Oh, yeah, no, they've got badge numbers. Is that what you mean?
I tried to memorize them. I'm not going to write them down in front of him, but I want to memorize them.
No, they've all got badge numbers.
Good.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you for your assistance. Your service is appreciated.
No worries. All right, so he then strides off.
May God go with you.
Oh, he does, Father. We're all chosen by God for our roles in life and our place in society. All right, so he moves off. Now, at this point, Atlanta and Arnsworth, you guys were running down the alleyway. You've seen the cops arrive or starting to arrive. You've legged it down the alleyway trying to see if there's any further, seeing whether you can track this person who's been using, or thing that's been using the pipes, yeah? So can I get investigation rolls, please, from both of you?
What will they find?
Matt.
No, sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, that's all right. My fault. You guys, can I get investigation rolls from you, please?
In what context?
Well, weren't you running down the alleyway to see whether you could...
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was running down the alleyway.
Yeah.
Like, -1.
-2. I have only got one dice to roll. Oops,
No.
sorry.
I'm still running.
So you're just basically bolting.
Yeah.
So neither of you are able to sort of find any particularly useful sign of the person. They've sort of made their thing that was playing the pipes. They would have had to have been... Yeah, they would have had to have been pretty close to the entrance of the alleyway, and they've moved away at some speed. But you don't find...
Leaving that entrance way behind me when those...
All right, so a little bit later on then, maybe this is... So we'll probably cut scene at this point. So the police sort of continue their investigation, and you do hear that at least one man of African-American descent was arrested soon after, and possibly two. The next morning, well, I guess the question is, what do you guys want to do? So, Atlanta, once the police have kind of dispersed, and you weren't one of the two people who was arrested.
They weren't, or they were?
They were not. So neither Arnsworth or Atlanta were arrested.
So was it Javier and James that were arrested?
Or did they get away?
It could be. So the next morning, where do you want to gather together?
Well, I would actually, before we gather together, I just would like to, assess a little bit of the damage in the street. Can we find any bullets? Can I find one lodged in my car? Have they disappeared?
So you don't find any bullets. You find the damage that bullets would have caused. No cartridges. The whole thing. It's like it happened, but the physical presence of the things that caused the damage are gone.
So what about Father Legba?
We could meet. Well, Father Legba is still wounded, but bound up and tired, so to sleep.
Go to sleep. That's fine. I mean, I disinfected the wound as much as I could, but I couldn't stitch it.
Thank you.
All right, so everyone can recover one condition of their choice overnight.
I will get exhausted back because it seems logical rather than getting the wounded.
Yeah, and that includes mental as well, so you can reduce... So either physical or mental, but you can reduce mental condition by 1.
Cool.
I'm still frightened.
So... the next morning... I don't know. So, Anston, are you going to look up Amadeus, noting what you saw?
Anston?
Anston, Matt?
Okay, yes. Yeah.
All right, so where are you guys meeting, and are you going to bring Arnsworth?
Well, my usual place to hang out is when I'm running for safety is the club.
The Cotton Club?
No, let me tell you whose club. Oh, God.
Mama's...
In my...
Mama June? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Forgotten that.
Yes, you owe them money.
I do. I think I paid off my money last time, but I think I've been gambling quite a lot since then.
Yeah, you've managed to maintain
roughly the same amount of money. I can't find her. Where's she gone?
She should be in your
Queenie's Players Club. Queenie's Club.
Yeah, Queenie's Club.
Is that the Cotton Club?
No, you're quite right. It's not the Cotton Club.
That's the Queenie's Club.
So, all right. So you can gather there. I don't know. Father Legba, do you want to join?
Well, I would be basically going to is there a morning cafe?
There's diners.
Yeah, the morning diner. Yeah.
There's not
was
cafes,
where I would be going for. Yeah.
They should be called breakfasts, shouldn't they?
Yeah. Where you can have breakfast along with terrible French coffee.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something. All right, so I'll assume that you're able to get Matt's character out of the club,
Yeah,
and
I
you
would go and
find
check up
yourselves
on
at the
him.
diner.
I definitely would go and check up on him.
Yeah.
And say, come on, let's have a pancake and a coffee.
Oh.
Right.
So what happened last night?
What the hell was that?
Catch up on,
Sorry, Father. But what the hell happened?
I got shot.
I saw that, Father, but people that usually shot don't disappear in the thin air.
I'm assuming we've discussed the weirdness.
I'm discussing.
Yeah. As in, I'm just saying previously which is why we're friends. We have a friendship because of weird things.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, Thomas.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
There's a bit of a community in Harlem of people who are connected in their desire to defend Harlem from other things.
Okay, so both James and Javier were possessed last night, which is why they left the party, and I believe they were possessed to be killed by. We didn't recognise, but they were just white soldiers, weren't they? I didn't see that they were dead soldiers.
But Atlanta can give quite a detailed description of what they look like because they did pay a fair amount of attention.
So what did they look like? I didn't get a good
they
look.
disappeared like ghosts.
Ghosts? And what did you find in the alleyway?
So
We ran in the alleyway. When they disappeared and there were no white folk for the police to arrest, I thought, who's next in line?
Yeah, and they were mortally wounded. They were not alive. They were dead. Even
they were dead.
They were dead ghosts.
So both Javier and James.
A little bit redundant, but yeah, they were dead ghosts.
Dead ghosts. Were they ghosts? Were they ghosts of the people that Javier and James killed in the war?
I'm not a military expert.
I'll tell you what, they weren't American. They were white, but they weren't American.
Yeah, I reckon
they could have been.
So other people can make learning rolls at this point if they want, because the Atlanta's actually able to give quite a detailed description of the uniforms that they were wearing.
Again, learning is logic, so I need to get rid of one dice. Oops.
Yeah, I think Amadeus has got decent learning. I can't remember.
2, 3, 4,
I
5.
have decent learning.
I was
Just can't roll
thinking
decently.
some language where the words were really long.
Yeah.
Avidly followed the war through the entire war period. Obviously. You know, looked at every photo, read every newspaper. So yes, these men were dressed in German uniforms.
So they were Germans. So they're German ghosts then. So these could well be a vengeance summoning to slay the Javier and James in a revenge thing.
Should we
stick to the ground where they've been killed? I mean,
unless they were summoned, we all heard the weird music.
Yeah, I heard it. Should we question James? Maybe they did
No, we
something.
could go back to that alleyway. There may be a clue there. I wasn't running.
Why
I was
did the
running.
30 seconds precinct people turn up?
32nd precinct. What were they doing here?
Exactly that. Well, two sergeants.
Two sergeants in one car.
In one car, not the nicest, which is unusual.
Yeah.
One of
The
the
30 seconds
nicest.
was not nice.
Can you imagine?
Should we say that they aren't? They don't perceive us. They were very white, very, very white.
Can I try and describe the tattoo?
Can you try and describe the two?
The tattoo.
No, the tattoo, not the two.
Oh, you can. Which will give everyone an opportunity to make a
learning roll.
Learning roll again. Now,
2 successes.
no, we'll roll over it.
Expert in war and tattoos.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an odd combination, but not one that many people.
No.
So the 32nd precinct. So you guys were up at the top of Sugar Hill, up here, and this sort of area of the map.
Yeah.
The 32nd precinct is just down at St. Nicholas's Park.
Where's that?
I just
right.
So just down there.
Okay.
So they were out of their precinct. They're still part of Harlem, but they were out of their precinct. So with the learning roll, you described the tattoo or what you could see of it. Okay, it was. Did they actually describe it, or can I'll just wing it? I can't be bothered looking it up. All right, so it was a cross.
That's good, right?
The tattoo was was in the form of a cross, with a sort of flame motif placed in the middle of the cruciform.
Not sure I'm good at flames. No, I'm not.
So Father Legba, you've heard about crazy right-wing, well, not right-wing, it's not really a concept for these guys, crazy sort of white people from the South riding around sticking flaming crosses in people's yards.
We probably all have heard of that, haven't we?
I think we've all heard about that.
Yeah.
And I'm from
so really hardcore members of the clan are known to sort of symbolize their membership with this tattoo.
So they have because it's part of what they call the Duke flag, I believe.
So yeah, they are. They're wearing symbology that's very clearly aligning them to the clan.
And then the police. Here.
Not unusual, by the way, at this point in history.
Even in New York?
The clan is about to be the clan is currently the most popular it will ever be in history. Accounting for something like 200,000 or 300,000 members across the United States at this point in its history.
In 1925, they got between 4 and 6 million members.
Well, there you go. Sorry about that. Off by a margin, off by a significant order of magnitude. No. Anyway, there's lots of them.
Granddad, I think, around that time.
So, and whilst they're less common in the north than in the south, they are not uncommon. And it's certainly not unheard of for police. But yeah, this symbol represents a fairly significant commitment to, like all organisations, there are people who pay their, who sign up to be members and then proceed to do nothing. And then there are people who are really dedicated to the cause.
Scary stuff.
The other thing you note is the Okay, so let's just go through this. All right, so... the other thing you note is, remember that the music only affected those two guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, the rest of you could hear it, but the only people actually influenced by the music were the two guys from the 369th.
Were they the only members of the regiment in the party, or we weren't able to know?
Yeah.
You don't know, but there's quite a few members of the regiment in the community. Like survivors, you know, I mean...
We could ask around to see if anybody else has witnessed similar experiences.
So one thing you do know is that Javier is the brother of Celestine, who ran
The party.
the party, one of the two runners of the party.
Right.
We can talk to her too. But,
Celestina.
We could go and talk to her. See if Javier, it was one of the ones that got taken by the police.
Yes, she'll also know whether... Well, she may know whether he was arrested by the police.
Indeed, let's find out. So
Because I heard some people have been arrested. I don't know what station house. We could go to station house 30 to see... precinct 30 to see if they know anything, but I'm guessing they'll have been taken to 32.
Oh, God have mercy on their souls.
well, I know you trust in God, Reverend, but Father, but I don't trust the police, so I'm not going to walk in there voluntarily.
Understandable. I don't think though I walk in the shadow of the valley of, I wouldn't walk in precinct 32.
So, one last thing, and this is, I think, Daniel, for you. Can you make... I guess it's going to be a learning roll. Yeah, it is going to be a learning roll. Mm-hmm.
That's logic, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Success. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've got a bit of a background in spirits and the dead and all sorts of things.
Occultism.
In general. So you've not heard of something. So it takes quite a bit to imagine a world where, so there are spirits and there are the dead, right?
Yeah.
And I know that sounds obviously trite, but you can put spirits in the bodies of the dead, and dead will rise and do awful things. You pretty fully believe that to be true.
Yes.
You can have spirits possess people and do lots of horrible things to people by possessing them and doing all these other weird shit.
Which is what I think has happened to Javier and Jane.
What is pretty much you've never heard of is, so someone gave spirits physical form, right? They weren't inhabiting the bodies of the dead. They were given bodies.
No. And able to affect, put bullet holes in cars and stuff.
Correct. And then when they died, the bullets went away. Or when they disappeared, the bullets went away. But the impact of the bullets didn't.
No.
So whatever is going on, the music is doing quite
pretty powerful.
It's doing a lot of heavy lifting in a sort of occult sense. It's a significant thing, whatever it is. Okay, so what else did you guys want to talk about anything else, or do you want to Celestina?
Question.
Mm-hmm.
I've been shot by one of the ghosts.
Yeah.
So I have some sort of symbolic link in a way.
Yes.
Because
I think I know where you're going. Yes.
Could I use that to summon them?
Yes.
Okay.
Summon them? to summon them.
I'm talking to Thomas.
I think this is an eternal monologue moment.
This is an eternal monologue question.
Let's look at the breakfast table.
I could, and then what I will say is we're talking in quiet tones. I could attempt to talk to the summoned ghosts to see what their intent was. I don't know whether that is a wise idea.
No, I'm not going to say anything. I'm
asking other people.
No, I figured you were telling the others now that.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, I am telling the others.
The dead.
You can speak to spirits.
I can speak to the certain spirits. Yes.
Is that holy, Father?
Well, obviously.
God moves
Obviously, it's holy.
ways.
Talking to the saints, as we all do. Ask the saints for protection.
Do the saints reply back, Father? Should I need to be worried?
Why would the saints not reply back? Do you not have?
Let's not discuss faith now, Father. It's not the appropriate time.
Well, we all must have faith.
Okay, so you had two choices before you. I actually have three. So you can split the party, and Father Daniel can go off and roll the dice, as it were.
Let's do that.
Let's do that. You can all go with Father Daniel while he summons the spirits. You can split the party, so obviously... or you can go and talk to Celestine. I'm just conscious of time, so we'll probably only get one of those things done.
Let's do Celestine. Let's all go to Celestine.
Okay.
More power.
I had not thought of the idea that you might try and summon the spirit, so I'll probably need a moment to think about that. So
that's another reason to go to Celestine.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so you go back to the rent party location, which they do live in, so they live in it when they're not rent partying it. Celestina Jordan lives there. She's frequently accompanied by a guy called Ralph Bleacher, who helps her run the parties, but also maybe more than just a friend. You can hear, sort of concerned conversation from in the room, even when you're sort of approaching the door. So you sort of go up the stairs and you can hear them. You can hear quite loud talking going on the other side. And sorry, I'll get rid of that so I can see more clearly. So there's a door. It's closed. You knock on the door, I assume. Door opens. There's Celestina, quite an attractive, a sort of Puerto Rican, African-American looking woman, sort of standing there at the door, takes one look at all of them.
Do the band get paid at these gigs?
Yes, the band does get paid at these gigs.
Did you get paid?
Okay.
Okay, good to know.
And I guess they probably haven't been paid?
No, well, last time you were seen, you were running down an alleyway as far away from possible. No, you get paid at the end of the gig, not at the start, because they make money through the gig and then they pay you. It's very much a cash economy model. The door opens. She's, obviously looking quite distraught. Looks at all of you and says, "Can I help you?" Basically.
Well,
We
can help you, first of all. Or not. Do you know where your brother is?
She sort of takes a step back, it's like the first question. I think he was taken by the police.
Can we come in?
Yes.
It's not a conversation to be had in the stairwell.
Stairwell. Yes.
Sorry, let me introduce ourselves. I am John.
You know me.
You know.
Yeah, they know you. They know Atlanta. They know Amadeus. They know Father Daniel, but they didn't know you, John. You're right. You were sort of, floating around the background.
New guy.
Well, come in and sit down and oh, Father, I saw you with my brother last night. It was very brave of you what you did.
I would do that for any of my flock.
I'm not sure Javier. Well, actually, Javier probably did go to church. Actually, no, that's pretty likely. So yes, definitively a member of your flock. Well, thank you. Yes, no, they were taken by the police. I don't know where. They won't tell me. They just said that they're being held for questioning.
I believe they'll have been taken to precinct 32
on St. Nicholas Square.
Okay, Puck. Okay, so she looks quite worried by that statement. The 32nd precinct does not have a good reputation in the community. Are you sure? Can you find out?
2 sergeants from there took over the investigation of what happened last night.
But why? We're not in the 30th. We're in the 30th precinct.
The 30th sergeant basically bowed to them. They were very brusque and shouty. And they basically took the orders of the 32nd precinct police. So I'm assuming that that's where Javier and James, if James was also captured, has been taken.
Well, that's terrible news. Like, literally the worst news.
Yes.
Have they been themselves lately? I have not been themselves.
Well, I mean, both of them came back changed men after the war.
Yes, I did.
I know, James mentioned the other day that their old commanding officer died.
Oh, yeah.
What was his name?
What was his name?
A Frenchman?
Yes.
Does he live here in the States or in France?
No, in Paris. Le Petit. Retired Lieutenant de Vaesen Macron was found murdered in his home yesterday.
Murdered?
Was he shot?
Did they send a telegram?
No, it was in. They're all still connected. They all still talk to each other all the time. They keep in touch, and the lieutenant's wife.
Is that
let me get this right. You're saying, yes, when did your brother hear of this news?
Oh, it was
the day before yesterday.
It was a couple of days ago.
A couple of days ago. So the day before that, he'd heard.
Yeah. But I mean, it had happened like a couple of weeks ago. It hadn't happened like sort of.
Oh, he heard.
Yeah, he heard. He like,
Yeah.
This is pre sort of instantaneous communication world. So he received a letter from the wife indicating that,
what was he shot?
That's right. No, he was horribly stabbed, and she sort of she goes, look, James was looking at the press clipping that the paper clipping that came at the same time. So hold on, let me do the Call of Cthulhu thing.
Have a handout.
Hand out, hand out, hand out.
Hand out, hand out, hand out.
No, this is only a picture, mate. No good at all.
Best I can do, buddy. Best I
I
can
can't
do.
read that. That's very small.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you
can
should be
zoom
able to
in.
make it bigger.
At the top, there's a zoom button.
So I just tried to zoom in, and I'm back to the basic screen.
Zoom.
You can-
Yes. Yeah. I can see.
All right, I'll read it
button.
out. It is with great sorrow we report that a national hero, retired Lieutenant de Vaesen was found murdered in his home yesterday. Lieutenant de Vaesen was a decorated French citizen who served honourably in the Great War as the commander of United States forces of the 369th Regiment, a regiment which played a vital role in the liberation of Belleau Wood. While police have kept the state of the body undisclosed, from witnesses interviewed by this reporter, it was believed to have been mutilated in some fashion.
Yeah.
It has also come to our attention that another officer, Jean Wolfe, who served with Lieutenant Macron, unfortunately passed a year ago, and whose grave was dug up and the body was also desecrated. Police are keeping the details to themselves, but this is truly a sad day.
Is this originally written in French?
Yes, but translated.
Did they have any of the regiment here in Harlem also in the same group that they were together?
Yeah, the 369th is basically Harlem's regiment, so all of the 306, most, well, not all, but most 369 survivors would be in Harlem.
I mean, under the same lieutenant. No,
Yeah, they'd all be under that lieutenant.
under the same lieutenant. Yeah.
Well, there was only a few of them in the end who survived all the way to the end of the war. So there
Is
was
there
James.
a club for those veterans?
They sometimes meet up at the armory.
We need to find out more about this liberation of Belleau Wood. If that is what connects them.
Yes, but also there may be a network here. We can talk to the.
Yes, indeed.
The other members of the 369. Well,
So Samuel Wright is another name that she knows. He was a member of the 369th. He was actually a captain. So under any normal circumstances, he would have been in charge, but, segregation.
Hold on. Can I just. Is he white? White man?
No. African American.
But made captain, what, by the French commander? Sorry.
No, he was a captain in the regiment, but he served under the French lieutenant.
Right. Do I know anybody from my medical duties? Anybody who's a veteran but regularly needs some medical care?
do I have any come for confession?
Sorry? Do you have any time for confession? Of course you do. You always have time for confession. Celestina, obviously, is very devout and would be very thankful for the opportunity.
No, do I know of any of the 369 that come to confession or come from church?
We were both asking, basically, have we got contacts?
Oh, so you were asking earlier if there's a club. There's sort of a club. So the armory is like this old building. It was actually the armory of the 369th. It's now basically funded by local community support and being slowly turned into a sort of memorial for the 369th. But old army buddies often go there to talk and drink and do those sorts of things. So you can hit up the armory. The other person is Frederick Williams, or Fred Williams, who was part of the band of the 369th, part of the marching band, and is now the sort of lead of the UNIA, the United... Get the name right. That's Sam. Lawrence Lance. Joshua Fool. King of the Night. What's his... Morning After... The Xbox.
Has he reached through his notes?
So many notes. It's the only thing that's good, but... Alright, so he's basically...
Universal
United
Improvement
Organisation for the Improvement of Negroes.
Yeah.
United Association for the Improvement of Negroes. Sorry. Which is
United
the precursor.
United Negro Improvement Association.
UNIA, yeah, that's it. Yeah, and precursor to what will come later in the NACCP or NACP. Okay, so those are your leads. It is probably 10:30 your time now.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 10:30, yeah.
So I think that's good enough for now.
Good time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it's 9:33 in the morning here, so you know.
And it's 12:30.
Oh yes, of course. For our Egyptian brethren.
So when we meet again, we should check out the alleyway near here. Not expecting to necessarily find anything, but it would be foolish not to.
Yeah.
And then head to the armory.
Yes.
Or maybe have a seance.
Maybe have a seance, but let's just that's the I think that's the sort of like if we haven't got any other clues.
Have a seance in the alleyway.
Will we get in contact with Mohammed's old character?
Or my old character.
I died the way I wanted to, gunning down white elitist folk.
Maybe we can turn that music against.
Cool. All right. Then I will set up a time probably in a fortnight.
Yeah, good.
To see if that works.
Cool.
If you guys are cool with that.
If it's a Wednesday in 2 weeks, I won't be able to make it.
So I'll set it up. We'll set it up around when you guys are free, right? Like it's
I can't make the next 2 Wednesdays because I've got my One Ring game on the next 2 Wednesdays. The two following.
I would actually prefer it early next week. Actually, if I was being honest, because I'm going back to work on Wednesday, so my time.
Next week could be tricky unless it's a morning session or something. No, early next week, I actually go back to work.
Yeah, I know they're feeling well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's negotiate the time and sort it out and make it work.
Obviously, I've got Swords of the Serpentine on the 3rd, which is Tuesday next week.
Yeah, I've got that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, fine then.
So it's only Monday. We'd only be able to do, and I'm free Monday next week.
All right, but I think Frank's.
I'm playing Cthulhu.
Oh, there you go. All right. Anyway, we'll
we'll sort something.
We'll sort it out. It's cool. Have you stopped the stream, Frank?
Not yet, but we can say goodbye to our watchers.
Goodbye all.
Thank you very much.
To the 3 people who aren't.
And see you in a fortnight.
All right. Bye.
Ish.
Fortnight-ish. All right, there you go. How was it? Was it all right?